You might not realize it yet, but for many men, the quiet decision to stop self-pleasure in later life is the moment their health begins to shift. Subtly, silently. Not with pain or panic, but with absence. One day, you just notice you're not quite yourself. Your drive fades, your energy softens, and without warning, your body seems less responsive. Most men think it's just aging. But the truth? It might be disconnection. I'm Dr. William Mark, a urologist and men's health expert with over 30 years of experience working with men just like you, men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond who want to feel whole again. And over those years, one pattern has stood out more than almost anything else. When a man stops engaging with his body, even in private ways, everything starts to slow down. Circulation, hormones, even his mind. This isn't about shame. It's about survival. You see, your body is built on use. When you stop touching, stop releasing, stop signaling that you're still alive and connected, your systems quietly wind down. It's not punishment, it's biology. And no one ever warns you. In this video, we're going to uncover 7 silent but serious health consequences that can come from giving up self-pleasure in later life. These aren't myths, they're science-backed, real-world effects I've seen firsthand in my patients. But don't worry, this isn't about going backward. It's about reconnecting with yourself in a way that's dignified, empowering, and life-giving. And by the end, I'll show you a simple, judgment-free plan to start restoring that connection, one small step at a time. So if this message even quietly resonates with you, type a 1 in the comments so I know you're with me. Let's talk about what really happens when you stop showing up for yourself. 1. Circulatory decline. The erection fade. It doesn't happen overnight. It sneaks in slowly, like a light dimming in a room you didn't realize was getting darker. You wake up one morning, and the firmness you once took for granted is gone. Not completely, just weaker, slower, inconsistent. And the most common thought? It's just age. But that's not the full story. Let me tell you about Thomas. He was 72 when he came to see me. A kind, soft-spoken man who took care of himself. He told me, "Doc, I'm not in pain. I'm just fading." He hadn't had a morning erection in months, and intimacy with his wife had all but vanished. He assumed it was normal, but I knew better. Erections aren't just about testosterone, they're about blood flow. And your penis? It's part of your vascular system. It needs stimulation, not just sexual but circulatory, to stay functional. The moment you stop self-pleasure altogether, especially in older age, your body interprets that as a sign. A signal, this function isn't needed anymore. And like any underused system, it begins to decline. The blood vessels shrink, the elastic tissue stiffens, sensitivity dulls. It's not punishment, it's your biology doing its job. Use it or lose it isn't a cliche here, it's a literal process. But there's good news. This process can be reversed. When Thomas began gently reconnecting with himself, no pressure, no shame, things began to shift. Not overnight, but week by week, he noticed morning signs returning, a tingling he hadn't felt in years, a subtle strength. He told me, "I thought I was done. Turns out I was just waiting to start again." This is what I want you to understand. You're not broken. Your body is simply waiting for a reason to come alive again, one quiet choice at a time. 2. Prostate congestion, the silent pressure. It doesn't show up on a scan. It doesn't always hurt. But for many older men, it's there. Quiet, persistent, and frustrating. That constant feeling of needing to pee. The weak stream. The pressure in your lower abdomen that never quite goes away. Most assume it's just an aging bladder. But more often, it's something no one talks about. Prostate congestion. George, 74, came into my office not long ago, visibly uncomfortable. "Doc," he said, "I always feel like I've got to go, even when I just went." He feared the worst. Cancer, infection, kidney issues. But what he had was something surprisingly common and incredibly overlooked. His prostate was backed up. Not with pain, but with inactivity. Here's what most men don't know. Your prostate is an active gland. It's responsible for producing and storing seminal fluid. And when that fluid isn't released regularly, it builds up, it thickens, and eventually it starts to push back. That internal pressure doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It starts interfering with your urination, your comfort, and sometimes even your sleep. This condition, prostate congestion, isn't dangerous, but it's deeply disruptive. And the solution? Simple. Gentle, regular ejaculation. Once or twice a month is often enough to keep the fluid moving, the pressure low, and your system functioning the way it should. George was skeptical, but he gave it a try. Within 3 weeks, the pressure began to ease. His sleep improved. He told me it's like something just settled. And more than that, he began feeling less anxious, more at home in his own body. If you've been quietly dealing with pressure down there, know this. It might not be your bladder. It might just be your body asking for release. Don't ignore it. Don't brush it off. Give it what it needs to breathe again. Testosterone shutdown. Your power hormone in retreat. Frank didn't come in about his erection this time. He didn't even bring up intimacy. He just sat down, looked at me and said, "Doc, I'm tired. Not sleepy, just tired of everything." He wasn't sick, he wasn't depressed, but his fire was gone. And I knew why. His testosterone had quietly started to slip away. Testosterone isn't just about sex, it's your power hormone. It fuels your motivation, energy, focus, strength, even your sense of joy. And when you stop all sexual activity, especially self-pleasure, your body takes that as a message. We don't need this hormone anymore. Your brain listens. It slows the signals. Your testosterone production retreats. This doesn't happen with a bang. It fades. A little less drive, a little more fatigue, a sense of emotional dullness that you can't quite name. Frank had stopped engaging with himself for nearly a year. Not for any specific reason, just drifted. And with it, so did his spark. But once he understood the connection, everything changed. No pills, no pressure, just a decision to reconnect, to remind his body it still mattered. He began self-stimulating gently a few times a month. Within weeks, his energy lifted. He called an old friend, took a walk, laughed. "I didn't expect this to work," he said, "but I feel more like me again." That's the beauty of testosterone. It doesn't just affect performance. It affects identity. Your voice, your posture, your presence. When it drops, so does your confidence. But you don't have to accept that slide. You can reverse it, step by step. Don't let your hormones go dormant because of silence. Your body's still capable. It's just waiting for a reason to wake up again. 4. Emotional flatline. The soul grows quiet. There's a silence some men carry that no one hears. It's not depression, not grief. It's a soft, steady fading of feeling. Henry was one of those men. A widower in his late 70s, always polite, always composed. But one day during a routine checkup, he looked at me and said, "Doc, I don't feel anything anymore. I'm not sad, I'm not happy, just blank." That's emotional flatlining, and it often begins when physical intimacy disappears, not just with others, but with yourself. See, your brain needs stimulation just as much as your body. When you stop engaging with your own desires, your brain stops releasing critical neurochemicals. Dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, the very ones that create connection, joy, and motivation. It's like the emotional color drains from life. Food doesn't taste the same. Music doesn't move you. Days blur together. You might smile out of habit, but it doesn't reach your eyes. And you might not even notice it until someone points it out. Or you look in the mirror and don't quite recognize the man staring back. The good news is, this isn't permanent. You can bring color back. Henry didn't need therapy or medication. He just needed permission to reconnect with his own body in a simple, private, intentional way. Within a month, he was painting again, laughing at jokes, telling me stories about his garden. "I feel like someone turned the lights back on." He said, "This isn't about chasing pleasure. It's about reclaiming emotion, presence, being fully alive, not just surviving the day. And that journey back starts within. You don't need to broadcast it. Just take one quiet moment, one private decision to feel again. Your brain, your heart, your soul, they're all still here. They just need you to check back in. 5. Cognitive sluggishness. Your brain needs it too. Robert was 68 and still sharp in many ways. But during a visit, he confessed something quietly. "Doc," he said, "I walk into a room and forget why I'm there. I lose track of conversations. I just feel fuzzy." He was scared, thought maybe it was early dementia. But after running tests, I knew what it really was. Robert wasn't sick. He was disconnected from his own body. See, when men stop all forms of sexual activity, the impact isn't limited to circulation or hormones. It hits the brain too. Regular arousal and release trigger a cascade of brain activity: dopamine, endorphins, nitric oxide, all chemicals that support focus, memory, and mood. It's like a neurological wake-up call. And when that stops, the brain begins to idle. This is what I call cognitive sluggishness. It starts slow. You lose your sharpness, your reaction time, your creative edge. You forget names, skip thoughts mid-sentence. It doesn't feel dramatic, it just feels dull. And it's easy to blame it on age. But the truth is, the brain is like any muscle. It needs stimulation to stay strong. Robert hadn't pleasured himself in over a year. Didn't think it mattered anymore, he admitted. But when I explained the science, he was intrigued. He started reintroducing intimacy into his routine, not as a chore, but as brain support. And within a few weeks, something changed. He was more alert, more engaged, telling sharper jokes and tracking conversations again. "Doc, I feel like my mind is waking up," he told me. "You don't have to wait for your brain to slow down. You can protect it now." A few moments of intentional stimulation each week won't just reconnect you with your body. It might be the mental refresh your brain's been waiting for. Number 6. Weakening pelvic floor. The hidden muscle you forgot. Larry was 68 when he nervously brought up something that had been bothering him. "Doc," he said quietly, "sometimes after I pee, there's still a little drip. It's not painful, just embarrassing." He wasn't alone. What Larry was experiencing was a classic sign of a weakening pelvic floor. And most men don't even know they have one. Your pelvic floor is a group of muscles deep inside your body. You don't see them, but you use them every time you hold in urine or reach climax. During sexual activity, especially ejaculation, those muscles contract in a precise rhythm, keeping your plumbing strong, your control sharp, and your confidence intact. But when you stop engaging sexually, those muscles go unused. And like any muscle that stops being used, they begin to atrophy. The result? Dribbling after urination, a weaker grip during arousal, even a loss of sensation or firmness. And it happens slowly, so subtly that most men just chalk it up to getting older. But it doesn't have to be that way. Once I explained this to Larry, we created a simple plan. No gym, no equipment, just regular, intentional self-stimulation once or twice a week. He didn't feel pressure to perform, just a commitment to reconnect. And within a month, the leaking stopped. His confidence came back. "It's like I've got control again," he told me, smiling. That's the power of maintenance. We stretch to stay flexible. We walk to stay mobile. This is no different. Your pelvic floor is the foundation of so many critical functions, and it needs care, not shame. Keeping it strong keeps you grounded in your body, your masculinity, and your freedom. Don't wait for things to slip before you act. A little attention now can prevent frustration, embarrassment, and loss of control later. 7. Loss of identity. The quiet disappearance of self. Walter was once the guy who lit up every room, quick with a joke, confident in every step. But over the years, something changed. The jokes slowed. The sparkle in his eyes faded. One day, sitting in my office, he looked at the floor and said, "Doc, I feel like I've become someone I don't recognize." He hadn't been diagnosed with an illness. He wasn't isolated. But what had slipped away was more personal, his sense of identity. And the quiet reason behind it? He had completely stopped connecting with himself sexually. No one told him how that small decision could quietly ripple into something so profound. Because when men stop engaging with their bodies, they often begin disconnecting from who they are. Sexuality isn't just physical, it's emotional, psychological. It's the part of you that whispers, "You're still alive. You still matter." When that voice goes silent, men like Walter feel themselves fading. Not dramatically, but day by day. He wasn't seeking pleasure, he was seeking presence, a sense of being rooted in his own skin again. And the way back started small. A private, quiet choice to reconnect. No shame, no pressure, just intention. Within weeks he reported feeling lighter. He smiled more. His posture changed. "It's like I've come home to myself," he said. That's what this is about. Not performance, not proving anything, just staying connected to the core of who you are. Intimacy, even with yourself, is a thread that ties you to your identity. Let it fray too long and you begin to drift. But the good news is, you can always pick it up again. You're still here. You're still you. And reclaiming that connection can bring everything else, your confidence, your energy, your joy, back with it. So where do we go from here? If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just about erections or hormones. It's about you. About the parts of you that may have gone quiet, but are still waiting, still alive. And the path back isn't complicated. It begins with one decision: to reconnect. Reconnection doesn't mean chasing youth or trying to be who you once were. It means honoring who you still are. A man with needs, feelings, desires, even in your 60s, 70s, or 80s. And the moment you stop apologizing for that is the moment your comeback begins. Start with something simple. Set aside quiet time once a week. No pressure, no goal, just presence. Explore what feels good, what feels alive. This isn't about performance. It's about checking in, like you would with an old friend. You don't need to explain it to anyone, but your body will understand. It will respond. If you've been feeling off, less sharp, less connected, less like yourself, this is your signal. Not to be ashamed, but to act. To remind your brain it still deserves dopamine. To tell your prostate, we still need you. To wake up your hormones, your circulation, your identity. Reconnection is not just a health strategy. It's a declaration. That your story isn't over. That your body still has more to give. That you still belong to yourself. Walter, Larry, Henry, George, Frank. These weren't extraordinary men. They were just men who chose not to give up, who chose to try. And their lives changed, not overnight, but honestly, steadily, quietly. Now it's your turn. Take that first step. Comment below with the word reconnect if this message spoke to you. And if you found value here, subscribe and stay tuned. There's more truth to tell. You're not done. You're just rediscovering what's been there all along. And it's not too late, not by a long shot.